প্ৰিয় শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকল, কৃষ্ণকান্ত সন্দিকৈ ৰাজ্যিক মুক্ত বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ বিদ্যায়তনিক দৃশ্য শ্ৰাব্য অনুষ্ঠানটিলৈ আপোনালোকক স্বাগতম জনাইছো। স্বয়ং প্ৰভা DTH চেনেল 20ৰ যোগেদি শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকলৰ অধ্যয়ন কাৰ্য অধিক মনোগ্ৰাহী আৰু ফলপ্ৰসূ হোৱালৈ লক্ষ্য ৰাখি বিভিন্ন বিষয় সামৰি আমাৰ এই বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটি সজোৱা হৈছে। আহকচোন প্ৰিয় দৰ্শকসকল, আমাৰ আজিৰ খণ্ডটিৰ মাজলৈ
Good morning, learners. Today we are going to discuss BA third semester's paper 2, that is ethics, unit number 1. The name of the unit is Nature and Scope of Ethics. While discussing this unit, we are going to deal with some questions that they are what is ethics, then we are going to explain the nature of ethics, and we'll discuss the scope of ethics. Now, whenever we are saying about morality is something which deals with some questions. Morality always deals with some questions, and the questions are: why we moral? How moral can we in non-ideal world? Are we moral by nature? Are moral judgments true? These are some of the questions we are often found to be associated with the subject called ethics. Now, if we see the definitions of ethics, then we'll find that there are different definitions which are presented by different philosophers. Okay. Now, first we have to know the etymological meaning of the term ethics. The particular word ethics, it is also has a different terminology, that is morality. Okay. Now, ethics is derived from a Greek word ethos. Okay. And it also derives from a Latin word mors. Mors, actually morality, the term moral comes from the Latin word ethics, mors, and the Greek term from the Greek term ethos, the word ethics has been derived. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of the term ethos and what is the meaning of the term mors? If we'll see the meaning of these two terms, we'll find that the meaning of these two terms are same, and that is way of living. Okay. Now, a way of living, and it also studies about customs. Now, ethics is a branch of philosophy. Why it is a branch of philosophy? Because it is something which is concerned with human conduct. Now, it consists in a code of conduct of human being living in this society. That means if we are to live in this society, we have to follow certain rules, or we have to follow certain norms, or we have to follow certain code of conduct. And that is what ethics is actually. Now, what ethics examines? Ethics examines rationally. All the human beings are rational, and by rational justification, with the help of rational justification, morality tries to see what is wrong or what is right, or what is just or what is unjust. It also deals with certain terms, that what is good, what is bad. And ethics is what, if we'll see, we'll find that ethics is an attempt to guide human conduct, and it is also an attempt to help man in leading good life by applying moral principles. There are certain moral principles which are given by ethicians or philosophers, and with the help of following which we can lead a good life. Now, ethics refers to well-based standard of right and wrong that prescribe that human ought to do, usually in terms of right and obligations. Obligations benefit to society, fairness, or specific virtues. We have to follow certain virtues. We have to determine what is right and wrong, and we have to oblige certain norms. Actually, ethics teaches us actually what we should do or we ought to do. Okay, we ought to do, it is a big question, it is a main questions, or it is a main system which ethics is to follow. Now, ethics is something which is related to property, rightness or wrongness. What is right is ethical, and what is wrong is unethical. That means right and wrong both are ethical terms, but if we'll do something right, then it will be considered as ethical, and if we'll do something wrong, then it will be considered as unethical. The word proper, fair, and just are some of the words which are used to declare a particular action to be an ethical one. Now, if an action is an ethical one, or it is right or proper, fair or just, then they can be regarded to be an ethical one. That means if a particular action will have to is right, or it is done in a proper way, or it is fair, or it is just means if it is something which is related to justice, then it is always an ethical one. That means ethics is a matter of practical concern. It always tries to determine the good and right thing to do, choices regarding right and wrong, good and evil, and questions of obligations and value. It is one of the most important point which is found in terms of ethics is ethics always concerned with values. Okay, ethics is something which has a relation with value, and value is something which has always relation with ethics. That means with the help of ethical values we can have a good life, and we can have a good life not only for us, but we can give a good life to other people associated with us. Now it is also, so far as ethics is concerned, it can be also defined as the science of highest good. Here I am using the term science. Okay, now whenever we are saying about science, science is something which is a systematic study of any particular thing. That means ethics is something which is a systematic study. Now Mackenzie, he defines ethics as the study of what is right or wrong, good in human conduct, or the science of the ideal involved in human life. So it is clear that ethics is the study which determines rightness or wrongness of action. Another branch of ethics which is regarded as applied ethics. Applied ethics is the practice of ethics that aims to guide the moral judgment governing the decisions we make in all areas of our lives. Issues of right and wrong are related to one's value. That means what if we'll say it is right, that means it is something which is which actions will do something which is valuable, and if we'll do wrong, that means out of it values will not be come out. It is context of, in the context of ethics, values are our standard of right and wrong. Now we have to know what is the nature of ethics. It is very important for us or you to know actually what is the nature of ethics, or what ethics aims for. Okay, now ethics is something which aims at systematic knowledge, and so ethics is a science. I have already said that ethics is a science, and if something is to be come under the category called science, then it must have to be a systematic study of that particular subject. That means ethics is something which is a systematic study of a particular thing. What it studies? It studies about values. Okay, every science is concerned with a particular sphere of nature. Now about which ethics actually deals with, then we'll find that as a science, ethics has its own particular sphere. It deals with certain judgments that we make about human conduct. Okay, that means judgments. Those judgments are which ethics actually used to give. They are related to human conduct. It deals with systematic explanation of rightness or wrongness in the light of the highest good of man. If we'll say something right or something bad in any way, that will not be an ethical one. Okay, then when ethics will study something, or it will determine whether that particular action can be regarded to be right or wrong, that means it will have to be explained in a systematic manner. Okay, now it is regarded that ethics is a normative science. Now what is normative science? Normative science is something which is different from practical science. Okay, that means whenever we are saying about normative science is something which deals about norms or certain rules. But so far as practical science is concerned, it always deals with facts. Okay, now if we'll see that whenever we are saying about ethics or morality is something which is concerned with what ought to be done rather than what is the case. Okay, will not deal if something is to already had been done. Okay, that is a factual fact, that is a fact, and that is an empirical fact. But ethics is not interested in that. But ethics, what ethics actually do, ethics tries to do whether we should or had been done that particular action or not. It differs from, that is why it is different from practical science or positive science. Positive science is something which is always regarded to be a natural science. Positive sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, those are regarded to be positive science because they always deals with something which is factual. On the natural science or descriptive science is concerned with what it is, but so far as ethics is concerned, it is not concerned with what it is, but what ought to do. Natural science deals with facts and explain them by their causes. In positive sciences, there is no question of judging its object in any way. But so far as ethics is concerned, it does not deal with fact. Rather, it deals with the value. That means, we'll find that so far as ethics is concerned, it deals with judgment of value, while positive science is something which deals with judgment of facts. It is the important point of difference between positive science and normative science. Okay, positive science deals with the judgment of facts, and ethics is something which deals with the judgment of value. And that is why ethics is not a positive science but a normative science. Normative ethics deals with standards or norms by which we can judge human actions to be right or wrong. As for example, you see logic, aesthetics, these subjects are also considered as normative sciences. Why? Because logic, aesthetic, these subjects also are something which is related with value but not with facts. Now, logic and aesthetic is concerned with truth and beauty. Truth is a value and beauty is also a value. That's why these subjects are also regarded to be normative science, because ethics is something which is always related with value. That's why it is also regarded to be a normative science and not a positive science. So, truth, beauty and values are the three ideals of logic, aesthetics and ethics respectively. Ethics is not a practical science, and practical science deals with means for the realization of an end or ideal. So far as practical science is concerned, we'll find that practical science teaches us to know how to do, as for instance, media science is a practical science. Okay, but so far as ethics is concerned, ethics is not a practical science. It concerns with the means in order to remove the causes of ailment or diseases. But again, we'll find some other kinds of sciences like medical science. Medical science is a practical science because it always if you are suffering from something, medical science is always try to find out a solution to get rid of those suffering, and that is a practical science. But ethics is not concerned with means in order to achieve moral ideal, that is rightness or wrongness. Okay, it does not teach us how to live a moral life, and so ethics cannot be regarded as a practical science. Again, we will find that ethics is not an art. Ethics does not teach us, or it is not a subject that it will not teach us how to lead a normal life. Okay, rather it helps us to justify rightness or goodness, which can lead to the supreme goal of human life, and that is to realize summum bonum of human life. So what is the summum bonum of human life? That is the supreme good, which is regarded to be the supreme good of human life. Okay, now what can be the supreme good for each and every human being or human life? That is the how we can give the supreme good to each and every human being, or the highest level of highest number of human being. That is the question of ethics. So ethics is not a means to the highest ideal of human life, but so far as practical science, art, those are concerned, it also means for obtaining a goal. So ethics is neither a practical science nor an art. Again, so for us, one question will ask that what actually art conduct, or what is there any art or art of conduct? What is the art of conduct? The answer, we can give this answer in the way that in case of morality, this is not true. What I'm going to say is that yes, can we regard ethics to be a art of conduct? But the answer is no. Ethics is not a art of conduct. Art spatially deals with the acquisition of skill to produce objects, while morality deals with motive, intention, purpose, and choice, which are considered right or wrong in the light of goodness. That means, what is our motive? What is our intention? What is our purpose? What is our choice to do a particular action? This is very important. So for us, ethics, sometimes we can do something and maybe its result is not that bad, or immediate result of that is not bad, but our motive is not good, then it cannot be regarded to be an ethical one. That's why, so for us, ethics is concerned, motive, intention, purpose, and choice is very important. But so for us, art or practical science is concerned, here these questions will never arise. Therefore, morality consists of goodness, which is really an intrinsic good. A norm or ideal in this ethical sense is defined as any regulatory principle that control or lays guidelines to thought and mode of action. Ethics is a science of values, as it discovers the forms of conduct or behavior which have the character of oughtness. Ethics deals with moral phenomena, and it observes and classifies them and explains them by moral ideals. So far as ethics is concerned, we'll find that ethics or morality is something which always tries to distinguish moral judgment from logical judgments and aesthetical judgment, and reduce them to a particular system. So we may define the nature of ethics as scientific, because it always tries to systematize the way of thinking to a ethical one. It always tries to find out what is good or what is bad. It always tries to shape our way of thinking. That means our motive, our intention, our choice. What should be our choice? What should be our motive? What should be our purpose? All these are, if we think it ethically, then all those things will come under a particular systematic order. However, from another perspective, all sciences also lead to philosophical questions if we take philosophy to be a quest of knowledge. That is why ethics is a branch of philosophy. Why ethics is a branch of philosophy? Because all the perspectives of sciences also lead to philosophical questions if we take philosophy to be a quest of knowledge. Okay. Now, what should be a right way to think? This is also come under quest of knowledge. Okay. That is why ethics is also come under the branch of philosophy. We will not find a clear-cut boundary between science and philosophy. Again, between descriptive science and normative science also, and between ethics and philosophy also, it is not very easy to find out a definite or clear-cut distinction. A norm is more than a description, and so far as ethics is concerned, it is always related with a norm and not with description. Now, while philosophies have become more scientific and sciences have become more philosophical, the distinction between science and philosophy and between value science like ethics and general philosophy is a matter of degree. The way ethics is both scientific and philosophical, both descriptive and normative science are both pure and applied. Pure ethics and meta ethics. That means, if we'll see about ethics, we can find that ethics can also be divided into certain groups: pure ethics, meta ethics, and we'll find that there is another branch of ethics that is called applied ethics. Now, we have already said that ethics is an art as it sets guideline for practical conduct and also for understanding the meaning of what it is the act of an ethical manner. Ethics is concerned with goodness as an ultimate value, while some other normative sciences like aesthetic and logic are oriented to the ideal of beauty and truth respectively. We have already said that so far as ethics is concerned, it always related with value. Ethics is something which is relation with only value. Okay. Now, but other normative sciences have relation with some other things. Now, if we enter into a discussion regarding what is the nature of ethics, we'll find that it would be a meta-ethical question. Okay, that means what is the nature of ethics? When we'll ask something about ethics, or when ethical questions will come out about ethics, then those will come under meta-ethics. Suppose, what is good? Okay, we have said that goodness is one of the most important factor of ethics, or one of the most important characteristic of ethics. Or if we'll we are saying that rightness and wrongness are the most important terms of ethics, because if we'll have to determine something to be ethical, first we have to give concentration on goodness, rightness, wrongness. Okay, now if we'll ask what is rightness, what is wrongness, what is goodness, this, or what is the nature of ethics, those questions will come under meta-ethics. Meta-ethics deals with these particular things. Okay, when these questions are the main part of meta-ethics. Although the distinction between morality and ethics is not clear-cut, it is not morally as such, since it thus is to lay down rules or guidelines of do's and does not. Okay, ethics is a branch of philosophical discussion pertaining to morality, or a philosophical critique of morality, which is far from laying down guidelines for behavior. A distinction must be made between ethics and morals or morality. Whereas ethics is a branch of philosophy concerned with moral values, the ethics or morals of an individual or a groups are the values according to which they act. Every people, even the most uncivilized and uncultured, okay, most uncivilized, uncultured, those terms have been given by us only. Okay, every people, including those whom we used to regard to be uncivilized or uncultured, they also have their own morality. Okay, they also follow certain morality. We regard some people to be terrorists. Okay, now terrorists also have their own kind of morality, own theory of ethics. They follow them. According to them, those actions are right, or those actions are good, or those actions will give some good results. That's why they used to perform those actions. Okay, that's why it is said that every people, even the most uncivilized and uncultured, every rational people, I am saying about every rational people, even the most uncivilized and uncultured has also have their own morality, or some of prescriptions which govern its moral conduct. Nature has so provided that each man established for himself a code of moral concept and principles, which are applicable to the details of practical life without the necessity of awaiting the conclusion of science. Ethics is the scientific or philosophical treatment of morality. Okay, now if we'll have to discuss, we'll have to see what is the difference between ethics and morality. We'll find that ethics is something which is the scientific or philosophical treatment of morality. That means every human being has morality, but that morality cannot be regarded, might not be regarded to be something which will be actually good for the human being, or which will be good for everyone. That means that may not be the summum of life, or high supreme good of life. That is why the morality which is actually philosophical, that is which is good for everyone, that can be regarded to be ethics. Okay, that ethics is the scientific or philosophical treatment of morality. The subject matter of ethics is the deliberate free action of man. For this alone are in our power, and concerning this alone one can rule a good and better life. Now I'll come to scope of ethics. What is the scope of ethics? The scope of ethics indicates its subject matter. Okay, that means what we study on the ethics. Ethics as a normative science deals with the moral ideals or the good in order to anchor the nature of our conduct. It anchors into the nature of the spring of action, motive, intention, voluntary actions, and so on. So far as involuntary actions are concerned, involuntary actions are actually spontaneous actions. That is why the concept called the morality or ethics will not have any relation with involuntary action. But when our actions are voluntary, that means with that action, our motive, our intentions, our choice, everything is related. That is why, so far as ethics is concerned, ethics only studies about voluntary actions and not about involuntary action. When we are saying about freedom of choice, okay, when we are saying about freedom and determination, these particular terms will come under ethics, and this will also fall under voluntary actions. It determines the rightness and wrongness of human actions. As a science of morality, ethics discusses the content of moral consciousness and the various problems of moral consciousness. Ethics is concerned with the highest good or the absolute good, and according to this highest good and the absolute good can be related with God. It investigates the nature of fundamental notions, that is right, duty, and good. Moral judgments, whom we regarded to be moral judgment, they are passes on our voluntary actions, and those are included within the scope of ethics. Okay, I have already said that so far as morality is concerned, morality is always related with voluntary actions. Non-voluntary or involuntary actions have nothing to do with morality or ethics. In discussing the moral judgment, ethics has also to concern with the nature, object, faculty, and standard of moral judgment. Moral judgments are feelings are arising or in our mind when we are to do something. Okay, whenever we are to do something, we are to perform certain action, then those moral judgments the questions of moral judgment will occur. Okay, and with moral judgment, the rightness and wrongness of those statements will also occur. So in this unit we have already discussed about what is actually ethics is, or what is morality is, and how ethics and morality are though same but has a slightest difference, and they are how related, and what is the definition of ethics, what is the nature of ethics, and what is the scope of ethics. So dear learners, I think you have understood the topic, and in the next class we'll come with some other interesting topic of ethics. For that, thank you.
ইমান সময় আমি স্বয়ং প্ৰভা DTH চেনেল 20 যোগে সম্প্ৰচাৰিত কৃষ্ণকান্ত সন্দিকৈ ৰাজ্যিক মুক্ত বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটিৰ আজিৰ খণ্ডটি উপভোগ কৰিলো। এই বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটিৰ জৰিয়তে শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকল নিশ্চয়কৈ ভালেখিনি উপকৃত হৈছে। পুনৰ আন এটি বিষয় লৈ আমি আপোনালোকৰ মাজলৈ আহিম। নমস্কাৰ।